Good afternoon, everyone. I am Arwen Beyonce Bidelos Reyes, together with my group mates Patrice Isabel Manalo, Ayla Cartina, Chelsea Janelle Cruz, Nicole Angela Morales, and Raisa Alina Velasco. For today's topic, we'll be talking about Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. So inaasahan po namin na ang lahat ay makinig upang maging aware sa batas na ito. These are the learning objectives. First, definition of sexual harassment. Second, learning the different types of sexual harassment. Third, identifying sexual harassment. And last, steps to filing a complaint. Section 1, Republic Act 7877, Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, an act declaring sexual harassment unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment and for other purposes. So sinasabi na ang sexual harassment ay ang sapitang paghingi, paghiling o pag-uutos ng ibang sexual na pabor mula sa iba. Ang terminong sexual harassment ay patungkol sa unwelcome sexual advance, paghingi o pagdedemand ng sexual favor o anumang klase ng pananalita o kilos na may bahid sexual. So regardless kung tinanggap niya yung pabor o hindi, nagko-constitute pa rin yun ng sexual harassment. So hindi importante dito kung tinanggap ng biktima o tinanggihan niya as long as humihingi yung isang tao ng hiling o pag-uutos sa iba, sexual harassment na yun. Ito ay nanggagaling sa employer, manager, supervisor, ahente ng employer. It's either sa workplace o sa lugar na pag-aaral o pagsasanay. Sino maaring lumabag sa anti-sexual harassment law? Wala naman sinabi ang batas, so pwedeng babae, pwede din lalaki. Kunwari kasabwat ka, punishable ka pa rin under the anti-sexual harassment law kasi kasabwat ka pwede ka maparusahan bilang accomplice.
Section 2, Declaration of Policy. The state shall value the dignity of every individual, enhance the development of its human resources, guarantee full respect for human rights, and uphold the dignity of workers, employees, applicants for employment, students, or those undergoing training, instruction, or education. Towards this end, all forms of sexual harassment in the employment, education, or training environment are hereby declared unlawful. Sinasabi na pag nasa isang institution or kunwari, nasa workplace, lahat ng tao na nandun ay binibigyan ng validation yung dignity, kahit anong position. Kaya any act of sexual harassment, kahit pa sabihin na part ng trabaho o ng trainings, ay counted pa rin na unlawful act.
Section 3. Work, education, or training-related sexual harassment. The sexual favor is made as a condition in the hiring or in the employment or continued employment of said individual or in the granting said individual favorable compensation, terms, conditions, promotions, or privileges, or the refusal to grant the sexual favor results in limiting, segregating, or classifying the employee which in a ways would discriminate, deprive, or diminish employment opportunities or otherwise adversely affect said employee.
Ito daw ay ginagamit bilang kapalit o pabor na nakabayaran sa mga hiling o kondisyon o promosyon sa trabaho o sa eskwelahan. Ang pagtanggi na magbigay ng hiningian ng sexual na pabor ay maaaring magresulta ng pagtanggal sa trabaho, pagbaba ng posisyon o ang maaaring maging dahilan ng pagkadiskrimina sa nasabing empleyado o estudyante.
The above acts would impair the employee's rights or privileges under existing labor laws. Ang mga gawain ay makakasira sa karapatan o pribilehiyo ng empleyado sa ilalim ng umiiral ng mga batas. The above acts would result in intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the employee. Ang mga gawain ito ay magreresulta sa isang nakakatakot o nakakasakit na dinadanas ng
Edukasyon, training-related sexual harassment. against one who is under the care, custody, or supervision of the offender, against one whose education, training, apprenticeship, or tutorship is entrusted to the offender. When the sexual favor is made a condition to the giving of a passing grade or the granting of honors and scholarship or the payment of a stipend, allowance, or the other benefits and privileges or consideration, when the sexual advances result in the intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment for the student, trainee, or apprentice. Dito, ginagamit ito ng mga coach, teacher, o professor bilang kapalit o pabor sa kanilang mga estudyante. Halimbawa ay ang pagkalaglag o pagbagsak ng estudyante sa isang subject. Maaaring gamitin ng kanilang guro o profesor ang sexual na pabor bilang kapalit sa kahilingan ng kanilang estudyante. Ganon din sa mga training-related program, maaari din itong gamitin ng kanilang coach. Halimbawa na lamang na gustong makapasok ng isang estudyante sa basketball team, volleyball team, o anumang school team. So maaaring ito ang gawing kapalit o pabor ng namamahala sa grupo.
Any person who directs or induces another to commit any act of sexual harassment as herein defined or who cooperates in the commission thereof by other without which it would not have been committed shall also be held liable under this act. Ang sinumang tao na nag-uutos o nag-uudyok sa iba na gumawa ng anumang gawaing sexual gaya ng tinutukoy dito ay mananagot din sa gawaing ito.
Sexual harassment may take place in the premises of the workplace or office or the school or training institutions. In any place where the parties were found is a result of work or education or training responsibilities or relations, at work or education or training related social functions, while on the official business outside the office or school or training institution or during work or school or training related travel. At official conferences, fora, symposia, or training sessions by telephone, cellular phone, fax machine, or electronic mail.
Illustrative forms of sexual harassment: physical, malicious touching, overt sexual advances, gestures with lead insinuation. Dito sa physical, makikita sa paraan ng malisyosong paghawak o paghipo, overt or obvious sexual advances at gestures na may bahid na pangbabastos. Verbal, requests or demands for sexual favors or lurid remarks. Sa verbal, kasama rito ang paghingi ng sexual favors at malisyosong pananalita. Illustrative forms of sexual harassment: others, use of objects, pictures or graphics, letters or writing notes with sexual underpinnings. Sinasabi dito na ang paggamit ng mga bagay, larawan o sulat na may bahid sexual ay isang sexual harassment na rin.
Section 4. Duties of the employer. Promulgate appropriate rules and regulations in consultation with the jointly approved by the employees or students or trainees, through their duly designated representatives, prescribing the procedure for the investigation or sexual harassment cases and the administrative sanction therefore. Ang bawat lugar ng trabaho, paaralan o industry association ay inaasahan na mapatupad ngayon ang mga rules and regulation upang maiwasan na mangyari ang sexual harassment. Administrative sanctions shall not be a bar to prosecution in the proper courts for unlawful acts of sexual harassment. Another duty is create a committee on decorum and investigation of cases on sexual harassment. The committee shall conduct meetings as the case may be with other officers and employees, teachers, instructors, professors, coaches, trainers, and students or trainees to increase understanding and prevent incidents of sexual harassment. It shall also conduct the investigation of the alleged cases constituting sexual harassment. The said rules and regulations published under this section are guidelines on proper decorum in the workplace and education or training institutions. Tapos, dapat may tamang nilalaman ang complaint ng isang magrereklamo. Ang una ay ang buong pangalan ng magrereklamo upang malaman kung sino ang biktima at address ng reklamo. Ang pangalawa naman, tulad ng una, kailangan ng buong pangalan, address, at ang posisyon ng respondent, yung kung businesswoman ka ba or guro or mag-aaral. Ang pangatlo naman ay isang maikling pahayag ng mga nauugnay na katotohanan. Ang pang-apat ay kung meron mang ebidensya, ipakita ito upang suportahan ang complaint. At ang panglima ay ang certification of non-forum shopping.
Section 5, Liabilities. The employer of head office, educational training institution shall be solidarily liable for damage arising from the acts of sexual harassment committed in the employment, education, or training environment if the employer or head office, educational or training institution is informed of such acts by the offended party and no immediate action is taken thereon. Kapag may nag-report ng sexual harassment na naganap sa loob ng pinagtatrabahuhan, ay obligasyon ng head office o lugar ng pagsasanay na makapagbigay ng agarang aksyon ukol dito. Dahil kapag nabigo silang ibigay ito sila ang mananagot sa pinsala na idinulot nito sa biktima. Section 6. Independent action for damages. Nothing in this act shall preclude the victim of work, education, or training-related sexual harassment from instituting a separate and independent action for damages and other affirmative relief. Walang pwedeng humadlang sa biktima ng sexual harassment na gumawa ng hiwalay at sariling aksyon o kasunduan laban sa inaakusahan para sa pinsalang idinulot nito.
Section 7, Penalties. Sinasabi na dito ay, kung ikaw ay lalabag sa batas, pwede kang makulong na hindi bababa sa 1 buwan o hindi lalampas ng 6 na buwan. May multa na hindi bababa sa 10K at di lalampas sa 20K. Maaari din naman na parehong multa at pagkakakulong depende sa diskresyon ng korte. And any action arising from the violation of the provision of this act shall prescribe in 3 years.
Section 8, Separability Clause. If any portion or provision of this act is declared void and unconstitutional, the remaining portions or provisions hereof shall not be affected by such declaration. Sinasabi na kung alin man bahagi ng batas na ito ay idiniklara na walang bisa at labag sa konstitusyon, ang mga natitirang bahagi o provision dito ay hindi maaapektuhan ng naturang deklarasyon.
Section 9, Separability Clause. All laws, decrees, orders, rules, and regulations, other issuances, or parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions of this act are hereby repeated or modified accordingly. Ito ay isang sugnay sa isang batas na ginagawang mahiwalay ang mga bahagi o probisyon ng batas upang ang isang bahagi ay mapawalang bisa. Lahat ng batas, kautusan, tuntunin o regulasyon na bahagi nito na hindi naaayon sa mga probisyon ng batas na ito ay inuulit o binabago sa inaayon.
Section 10, Effectivity Clause. According to this section, it will take 15 days para ma-implement siya bilang batas. After na ma-publish sa mga newspapers, parang meron siyang grace period of time before siya maipublic o maikalat sa bansa bilang batas.
Additional, if you were asking if maaari bang masiguro na maitatago ang pagkatao ng biktima, maging ang dokumentong kaugnay sa kaso. Base sa Section 44 ng Republic Act 9262, lahat ng records pagdating sa mga kaso ng karahasan sa kababaihan ay kinakailangang ituring na confidential bilang pagrespeto sa privacy ng biktima. Pagdating sa application for 10-day leave, ang mga staff na magpaproseso ng mga dokumento ng isang victim of violence ay dapat umiwas sa pag-leak o pagsiwalat ng sensitive information na dumadaan sa kanila. May mga special benefits at services bang binibigay para sa mga biktima ng sexual harassment? Yes, meron, katulad ng C10-day leave privilege for VAWC victims. Meron ding services katulad ng counseling, humingi ng tulong sa HR department o disciplining authority ng ahensya, and last, Magna Carta of Women. Ano ang kaparusahan sa mga taong mapapatunayang nagkasala ng sexual harassment? First, grave offense. Ang example nito ay unwanted touching of private parts, sexual assault, request for sexual favor in exchange for employment, promotion, and passing grade. The penalty is dismissal. Second, less grave offense. The examples are unwanted touching, verbal abuse with sexual overtones. The penalties are first offense, fine or suspension not less than 30 days and not exceeding 6 months. Second offense, dismissal. Third is light offense. The examples are stealing a look at a person's private part or undergarments, sending sexist smutty jokes, electronic means, malicious ogling, making offensive hand or body gestures. The penalties are first offense, reprimand, second offense, fine or suspension not exceeding 30 days, and last, third offense, dismissal. So, ayun lang po, naway nadagdagan ng ating kaalaman patungkol sa batas nito, especially sa girls na lagi nating tatandaan na hindi pamantayan ang kasuotan o kahit anong damit na suot para irespeto ng tao. That's all. Thank you.